Nice to meet you, Marta.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for having us. Uh, the mole undercover in North Korea has been truly entertaining to watch, I must say.
Thank you.
It's fine, it's complex, keeps you on the edge of your seat from minute one. And nowadays, you cannot ask for anything more, for anything else. How did you come up with this idea, this crazy idea?
Well, it began, very small. Basically, the mole asking if I would be interested in, him on my behalf infiltrating the Danish-North Korean Friendship Association, which, is a completely harmless group of people. It's these elderly, alcoholized hippies. And it really doesn't make sense to have a mole, an undercover agent, inside that group. It's journalistically, that is an overkill, you would say. But I thought, this was costing me nothing. He was working for free, and I thought maybe, as time goes by, something interesting will happen.
Yeah.
And apparently yes, because personally, when he went to North Korea and met Alejandro Cautepedas, I knew that something interesting was bound to happen, because I had met Alejandro beforehand, and I knew what a bizarre character he is.
Yeah, you have history with him, we could say, a little bit.
Yeah, I was in North Korea together with Alejandro Cautepedas, with him as my tour guide. The first time I went to North Korea, and he said so many crazy things constantly.
Yeah, while I was watching the documentary, I was thinking in the back of my mind, why must be this guy Spanish? Really? Can we go farther down? Like, I can't believe he exists in the democracy. In the democracy we have.
Yeah. Well, for me, it is a mystery that the Spanish authorities allow Alejandro Cautepedas to operate as he does.
What?
Because, of course, he is allowed to defend North Korea. He is allowed to do that in a democracy. Of course, you can find his opinions to be repulsive and horrible, but he is allowed to do so. But basically, coordinating international crime, sanctions busting, weapons deals, that is, in my mind, a criminal offense, and as such, he should be investigated.
Yeah, because he's trafficking with intelligence, he's trafficking with info, arms, drugs, and he says so openly. Well, not so openly, but he talks about it with some people, and he doesn't even does a background check, a thorough background check of the people he has around. And well, it's just mind-blowing that we get to see what we get to see thanks to Ulrich and his recordings. So this must has been truly difficult to see, or to be working on the sidelines for you, because how have you done it these 10 years?
Well, it's basically we are harvesting the fruits of a of a prolonged confidence trick. Gradually building up, very carefully building up confidence and trust between the mole and the North Koreans, between the mole and Alejandro Cautepedas, between Alejandro Cautepedas and Mr. James. Taking it step by step, not pushing the envelope, being very, subtle, very careful, and not, overplaying your cards. And if you are that patient and careful, then at certain points you will be given a bonus. And then, and then people such as Alejandro Cautebenas, they will really begin trusting you. Because after having dealt with the mole for, 5, 6, 7 years, the last thing on the mind of Alejandro Cautebenas is that the mole is in collusion with a documentary filmmaker from Denmark.
The end is just spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I watched that, but it was amazing. I have like what I think is the $1 million question. How many times did you think about pulling the plug? Because we can see during the whole documentary that there are tons of moments where things could go really, really wrong. So how does one endure such difficult events?
Yes.
How did you do it?
Well, that was a constant, that was top of mind, throughout most of this project. What is the end game here? What is the exit strategy? After the meeting in Tarragona, where Alejandro Cautebenas takes his bug detector and sweeps the room, I thought, now we are, now this is simply too dangerous, because here the mole is surviving on a very small margin. It's only because he is cold as ice that he survives, and also because Alejandro does not trust his own equipment, because the bug detector is working.
That I think is a Spanish trait. You must say all the movies goes like that, so you just in reality it seems to be like that as well.
Okay.
But I couldn't believe that it didn't work properly, so he was safe because of that.
No, it was working.
Yeah, but he thought.
But he didn't trust it.
Yeah, but how can you not trust your tools?
The mole told him that it was the car keys, the remote control in his car keys, which is an absurd explanation.
He is such a difficult person to understand. Maybe his personality, his ego, plays a big role on all what happened. Because how do you think? How important do you think is his role in Western society? I mean, Alejandro.
Very important. I will get to that. I'll just answer your other question, because after the showdown in Tarragona, I thought, we have to call this off. And this is maybe even the climax of the film. But then they get invited to Uganda to meet with the North Koreans there. And then it becomes even more, it spins even more out of control. And then suddenly Alejandro Cautebenas wants to do triangle trade with the Jordanian businessman Al Dasuki, which we also had to follow through with. Eventually, when I began this project, the very idea of having secret recordings with North Korean arms dealers was, something I couldn't, I could only fantasize about. But at the end of this, it became, almost another day at the office. It became trivial looking at footage with North Korean arms dealers. And when I found myself, not being as excited as I initially was about that, I knew we had reached the end of our journey.
And just before going to Alejandro back, you must have had tons of video, as you said, audio peaks. How did you manage to get to that cat detention with a better night atmosphere? Because
that was a big challenge, because we have to, when you edit films, you say you have to enter a scene as late as possible and leave the scene as early as possible. But still, the journalists inside me want a lot of documentation to be in the film. Another challenge was, how to get the Korean language translated. We had to find a person whom we could trust, and translating North Korean Korean is quite difficult actually, because they speak a very distinct dialect, which differs a lot from Korean as spoken in South Korea.
In South Korea, yeah.
Yeah, that was a challenge.
Well, I think one of the keys was animation. The former MI5 intelligence officer and whistleblower you used. For me, she was just the key to everything, to understand, to get in pace with the questions he asked. Because
thank you.
Yeah, that part really perfect. From her perspective, you can see, and when you see her working Ulrich and working Mr. James, and the questions she asks, they are just on point.
So yes, she asks perfect questions.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, for sure. And the way you sit with her, you talk to her, she asks you questions about the whole procedure. I just love that, and I think without her, it wouldn't be the same.
No, I agree. And then she's quite funny.
Yeah, she doesn't seem so. Yeah. She seems like right-minded kind of woman, yeah? Yeah. But going back a little bit, can you tell the listeners what your impressions of Ulrich Larsen and Mr. James were at the beginning, and how they went through with time, how they evolution?
How they evolved?
Yeah, how they evolved, yeah.
Well, Ulrich is a retired chef, retired because of a chronic medical condition, which means that he cannot work. He, resides in the outskirts of Copenhagen together with his family. I think, part of his motivation, and that is me, interpreting him, was he was in need of finding something to do with his life, something purposeful and meaningful. And of course, all of us, once you pass the age of 30, you begin to long for adventure of some sort,
Yeah, but wow, I don't know that adventure,
Yes. But going through all of this has really been of course, a life changer for him. He is very proud of his achievements, and rightly so. I think his wife clearly has a whole new, idea about whom her husband is.
Yeah, well, that must be.
Yes, wow. And so no, but he's doing great. I was a bit concerned about, having been the mole for
so long,
more than 10 years, that it would leave a vacuum inside of him, not being the mole anymore.
And he's a public figure now in your country. Is he recognized?
Some people recognize him in the streets, yes.
Yeah, because that must be difficult as well. Not just adjusting to a new kind of life, but to a new role in society as well. It must be hard.
And Mr. James, he, when I met him at a nightclub in Copenhagen. And he was fresh out of jail when I met him. He had been serving a jail sentence of 8 years for dealing cocaine. And while being in prison, he had seen a documentary I did a while ago called The Ambassador. And he was very excited about that film, which is why he approached me in the bar. And then he began telling me about his, marriage and his life in general, about how he had been in the French Foreign Legion and then became a, career criminal. At that point in time, I was looking for someone who could perform as a investor. And it dawned on me that Jim, or Mr. James, as he is called in the mole, was the person I am looking for, because he is a danger junkie. He loves being in dangerous situations, and what normal people would consider total out of control is a baseline for him.
Yeah.
So for him, being Mr. James was a sort of he lives a life now as a law-abiding citizen, which can be boring if you are a person such as Mr. James.
Yes.
So being allowed to perform as Mr. James throughout this film was a sort of therapy for him. And now he is he's very excited about the response that he has gotten from the mole, and I think it's a matter of time before someone in Hollywood phones and asks if he would like to be in a action movie.
Yeah, because he's just phenomenal. If you were to create him from zero to do this role, you could not get as close to perfection as he on his own does. It's just wow.
It is remarkable, and I'm very impressed with how good he is at improvising. And also that he also makes these very funny remarks.
Yeah, he's cold as ice, but then you see him on the documentary talking to Annie, and he just remembers things and makes jokes of it, and you can't believe that he was sitting in a room with those North Korean guys that have all the power in the world to kill you and leave no trace at all, because that could be just how the movie could have gone. So that part was just unbelievable. So I must say that the whole thing is just difficult to digest. I guess that would be because it's not a reality, a common thing. Well, you cannot.
Well, but that was initially a because for us we had studied the material in detail and dealt with it for years on end. So for us it was not as exciting as it is for people who see this for the first time. So we were sort of out of sync or out of touch with how people would experience the film. And before releasing it, we did submit rough cuts of the film to some film festivals.
Yeah.
That was before Corona was closing everything down, and we discovered that some festival programmers thought that everything in the film was fiction.
Yeah, because it's hard to believe.
Yes, but also because the gallery of characters is beyond this world.
Yeah.
Which is why I, in the beginning say, in order to emphasize it, that everything in this film is for real.
Yeah. But I guess it's really complex for us commoners to get to that world, because we see that on Hollywood movies, but our reality is far away from that. And that was what shocked me the most, was Alejandro Caudevinos, a Spanish citizen that does all of those things in the shadows. And he was exposed like that on my computer, on my screen. And I was watching it and I was thinking, this cannot be true, because if this were to be true, he would be arrested.
Yeah, that was sort of my own expectation when the mole was. It had its premiere on BBC and Scandinavian television, and I thought, speaking of causality, the first thing which will happen is that someone will arrest Alejandro Caudebenas in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, send it to the police. Maybe they haven't seen it.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I cannot.
But so far it seems like that Spanish media and Spanish authorities have not really discovered the film.
It hasn't been released yet here in Spain. It would be out, I think, on February on the 5th.
Yes,
I think
on the
it's
5th.
Thursday. Yeah, on the 5th. So hopefully, then it will create a little bit of movement around here. But I must say that with COVID, everything is just passing by, because the situation is just everything. News, earthquakes. We have been having earthquakes here as well in the south, and it just passed by the news. So,
but I think also a possible explanation is also that in Spain as well as elsewhere, people perceive Alejandro to be a sort of a clownish figure.
Yeah, but he's not, for sure.
But he is not.
Yeah.
And I made the same mistake initially. I also thought that he was, a cook, a person whom you shouldn't take, seriously.
Yeah. It seems to me that he is a puppet, but really he is not. He is more like the master puppet in here, because he is truly well connected.
Yes, he is.
And so naturally.
And I thought after the meeting in Oslo, where Alejandro is, bragging about all the things he can deliver and arrange and achieve in North Korea, I thought this is very interesting, but is it really true? Are there people in Pyongyang who, deals with Alejandro Caudebenas on a high level? Yeah. And I really had my doubts about it. I thought, when the Mole and Mr. James went to Pyongyang, I thought most likely they're just going on sightseeing. They are not going to meet with people of importance or people of power.
Yeah,
but they did, and so he really everything he promised.
They bought an island. I mean, what the hell? Just buy an island and do a facility underground to sell missiles. It's just mind-blowing, as I say it out loud. But he is untouchable, and there is a moment on the documentary that he says he is between the boss and the ministers. So just like that. And
he says that he works for a ministry which is above all the other ministries.
Other ministry, yeah, like I'm the man in the middle. You have to pass by me through the gates. He's the guardian of the gates, and he's a Western guy. That's what shocks me the most. And he's Spanish as well. So,
yeah, it's unbelievable.
For me, being Spanish as I am, it's just, I cannot believe my eyes. I didn't know his figure. I've seen, you have some cuts of Spanish TV shows on the documentary at the beginning of it, and I didn't know him.
No?
No, just like that. And I like history, I read a lot, I watched tons of TV, and it was the first time. And I guess I was so shocked.
Yes.
And I think there is a lot of people like me in Spain.
He has a YouTube channel which is quite popular, I was told.
I didn't know. There are too many things on YouTube for me to follow up, but I will check it, because one of the things that worked really well was Ulrich going with his camera on all the time. How do you sell that? It's the most unbelievable thing of everything we've seen, that he's allowed to carry a camera.
Well, that is also, another example of how, going for the long haul, instead of, of cashing in immediately, just being very, very patient, and then, introducing Ulrich as an amateur videographer who shoots small amateurish video films for YouTube. which he had been doing for quite a while with the Danish North Korean Friendship Association, and then also later on with the KFA, the Korean Friendship Association, and Rando's outfit. So they were, used to Ulrich filming, and even, and also the North Koreans were used to him filming. So, in the end, you have North Koreans actually holding the camera for Ulrich, which is remarkable.
Well, another character we could say that was amazing to watch was Mr. Khan.
Yes.
And a stone face, please.
Yes, stone face.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. What can you tell us about him? Have you learned?
Well, I know some things about Stoneface through my sources. I was told that at one point in time, Stoneface was working at the North Korean embassy in Uganda.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the connection there.
And then also at one point in time, a British law firm was given permission to open up a branch in Pyongyang.
Wow.
Of course, you could ask what sort of law firm would like to have
well, I don't think
a spin-off in Pyongyang, but
I don't think I should ask.
That's another discussion. But the North Koreans told them that, okay, we can do this, but you have to employ 2 of our guys inside the office. One of these men was Stoneface, which suggests that he is North Korean intelligence, I think.
Yeah. Well, he is like the perfect bad guy from a movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and
like
he
that.
never says anything that he's totally. He is a stone face.
Yeah,
he never smiles. There's no response from him at all.
I think he is the one that you can see makes them truly nervous, Ulrich and Mr. James, because you can sense it, and that's a thing that gets to you through the lens. His presence and how he deals with the room and how he reads the room. You cannot.
No, if I was in a room with Stoneface, I would begin crying.
I would just go away and run away as far as I could, I guess. Yeah, that's the feeling I get.
He must be the perfect guy to bring to a meeting with your bank.
Yeah, or maybe
having Stoneface sitting next to you.
Yeah, the worst nightmare for a boyfriend, if you have a daughter. Yeah, like something like that. Yes, absolutely. And what can you tell us about? How can I say it? The things you wanted to have from this documentary, because you've talked about how Spanish police didn't act on it. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's going to have more repercussion that has already had?
Well, I think we will know the full fallout of this film once it reaches Japan. It was sold a little while ago to a Japanese television station.
Oh, okay.
Because Japan is one of the main adversaries of North Korea. Mm-hmm. And then once it reaches South Korea and the US, America.
Yeah.
Because I think, these 3 countries are the ones who, have the highest stakes regarding North Korea. We have been in touch with the expert group of the United Nations who are monitoring the sanctions against North Korea, and made sure that they were given access to screening the film. I think they will deal with the film in their next report. So far, I'm happy about that. Experts in North Korea and the armaments industry are impressed with our achievements and have the documentation in the film is high quality and genuine, and that is important that people understand this.
Because nothing was made up. All you have are true documents So I guess the ONU should use it, some organization for, I know, humanitarian reasons. Maybe they could use it for legal purposes.
Yes, but basically we are infiltrating and unraveling a criminal network which connects Pyongyang with their cooperators and helpers abroad in Spain, in Jordan, and elsewhere. People who are, facilitating and helping North Korea with avoiding and busting sanctions against North Korea. And I think, that this film is important regarding, preventing North Korea from proliferating and spreading their weapons technology.
Yeah, because we see how they work. They show you the ropes of the trade, to say so. They talk about international waters, about trading and the trafficking and the things they do to get to the point and to get things through. So maybe this will help to put a stop, or at least to slow down their business a little bit. So maybe
no, but what is in the news today is that the Americans are allocating $4 million to prevent and curb the North Korean weapons industry from selling weapons. And and that is important because what is so mesmerizing and also scary about this film is that the North Koreans are perfectly willing to sell high-end and very advanced weapons to a private person.
Yeah, if you have the money.
Yes,
Yeah.
And so you have to ask yourself, what happens when the real Mr. James comes to Pyongyang?
Yeah, comes through.
And we are not asking for nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons, but that, of course, is a possibility in the future that someone will try to buy such weapons from the North Koreans.
Yeah, but seeing what was on the menu, to say it like that, it can happen just as well. So
yes, no, but we were, our rules of engagement was that we did never give the North Koreans any money.
Yeah,
that was very
important. And they
important.
signed it anyway.
Yes, but we didn't give them any money, and they were paying for themselves all the time. We were not paying for their air flights or hotels or anything. That was rule number one. And then rule number two was that we only did what they proposed. So we were very careful with not, provoking or encouraging them to do, criminal activities. So, because they did not propose selling nuclear technology to us, we did not ask for it. They did not propose if we were selling chemical or biological weapons to us, and so we did not ask for it. But I'm sure, or I strongly suspect that if Mr. James had asked for buying chemical weapons, that would have been perfectly possible.
Yeah, they wouldn't mind kicking out that whole people on the island just to build a resort. So I guess when you don't care about human lives.
But that was actually the Africans.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the whole planet. It's not just the North Koreans. It's just because Uganda people as well. Then you have the Jordans, and you have North Korea, and you have the Spanish guy, and you mean it's everywhere. It's like a net, a well-constructed net, and it's terrifying. What you saw, what you can see in this documentary is just terrifying.
Yeah.
Totally and completely.
Yeah, it's very depressing with the real estate guy who tells the people on the island that Mr. James is there to build a hospital.
Like that.
Yes.
And they play with the kids as well. So that was just not human. For me, some people on Earth, just not human enough. That's for sure. Well, can we ask you about next project, or do you have something in mind? It's going to be Korea again, your next project? Or
my next project?
Yeah, if I can ask you.
Well, I am developing two new movies, but this is not because I want to be pretentious or secretive, but I'm very careful with not discussing things which I am working on.
Okay.
Because then in the end, I become bored with them because I speak about them all the time, and then I don't feel like doing them.
Okay, so we'll wait and we'll call you again. No problem.
That is a deal.
No problem at all. So, well, thank you so much. It's been a really candid talk, and it truly has been a pleasure.
Well, likewise, I really enjoyed this talk.
I hope it does really well and get recognized as it deserves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.